President Buhari meets ASU, insists on compliance with IPPIS. Nigerian stock market outperforms her peers on the continent in 2020. Power generation hits 4,898 megawatts as DISCOs beg NERC not to revoke their licenses. And Business Express today will be focusing on 2020 prospects for the commodity market. These and more will come your way on the program for today on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, the NTA. And we're reaching you from Abuja, the nation's capital. I am Muplang Dakok. It's good to know you're still with us. President Buhari said that the federal government will give more attention to improving personnel and infrastructure of universities to produce quality graduates, assuring that education will henceforth be a top priority in development goals of the country. The president said this when he received leadership of Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, led by Professor Biodun Ogunyemi at the State House in Abuja. He noted that effective and efficient operations of universities will go a long way in improving the economy, especially with focus on science and technology. The president urged members of ASU to assist the federal government in realizing the target of improved education and credible certificates by complying with ongoing verification and validation of human resources in the universities, which will guarantee optimum output.
A high-powered inquiry using the Constitution and see how much the universities should be allowed in terms of management of resources and the personnel.
Our view, Your Excellency, is that while it is clear that ASU has peculiarities, that those peculiarities should be clearly recognized and special provisions made for them, rather than having those special peculiarities put and carried on the payroll. Bringing the universities on the payroll will not erode their independence or autonomy. It will only help government to manage the very scarce resources that we're having to deal with at this time.
Nigerian universities can make meaningful contributions to addressing the challenges of the country, e.g., economy, security, and corruption, if given the opportunities.
The dollar looked set to post its best week in 2 months on Friday, buoyed by easing Middle East tensions and upbeat U.S. economic data. Let's now see how the Naira is exchanging for other international currencies. And oil prices dropped on Friday, extending days of losses as the threat of war in the Middle East, a major oil-producing region, receded. Investors switched their attention to economic growth and prospects and demand for crude. The Brent crude was down 14 cents at noon after falling more than 4% over the last 2 days, while the West Texas Intermediate WTI was also down 14 cents after dropping slightly on Thursday. The Federal Ministry of Agriculture is providing a platform that will ensure quality of agricultural produce before taking to the market. The initiative is aimed at addressing post-harvest losses as well as rejection from local and international commodity markets.
Of these grain aggregation centers 25 across the country as a pilot scheme. It started in a pilot state like Niger, Kano, Jigawa, Kaduna, Kogi, Nasarawa, Gombe, and other states, Kebbi, Sokoto, as a pilot, so that when we provide these services, the millers or the processors can be able to add value to what they are going to process at the end of the process.
There are indications suggesting that demand for grains, especially rice, maize, and sorghum, is on the increase occasioned by the partial border closure. Investigations indicate that almost all the agro-processing industries are working to meet the demand of the country of their produce and products.
Almost all the states, 36 plus FCT, increased their production in terms of areas, in terms of, covering more areas compared to last year.
In the meantime, the prices of agricultural produce have continued to decline as a result of high supply at major commodity markets in the country. To further discuss 2020 prospects for the commodity market is a commodity aggregation expert, Muhammad Ali Baba. Welcome on Business Express today.
Thank you very much.
And I guess it's still okay for me to say Happy New Year.
Yeah, it is.
Thank
you. Yeah.
So let's begin this way. How would you describe the demand and the supply of commodities in general in recent times?
Well, as you have said, it's a boom for those involved in that sector. Okay. Because, everyone is aware that one of the pillars of this administration is economic diversification using agriculture as a base. So, and the environment has, propelled a lot of interest in that sector. So it's been a boom both for the farmers and everyone involved in the agro-value chain.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you have been following the trend since you're an expert in that field. What about the report that says there was a bumper harvest recently, and then we have a lot of products in the market? How true is that?
Yeah, appreciably, yes. I think that's right. Like I said, in response to all the initiatives that the federal government has given, people have gone to the farm. And of course, you've mentioned the border closure. So, by and large, a lot of the processing factories, industry is having a boom, is a real boom for now. And generally, I think we're happy.
So, since the industries are receiving a boom now or a boost, how are the farmers reacting to this? Are they very happy about it? And have they started making plans to step up their the planting season for this year, 2020? What is happening exactly with farmers?
No, certainly it's the farmers are excited because they hardly ever had it so good. Like I said, initially after the boom, given the imports, of course it has been up and down swing. But generally with the border closure and then a lot of incentives for local processing, the farmers are excited. A lot of places, even in places like Niger that are not used to dry season mostly, there has been a revamped interest in, dry season farming. So farmers are excited, they are happy, and they are waiting on a lot of these incentives. You are aware of the Anchor Brewer program. So every now and then, even yesterday we were at refund, and they are awaiting disbursements. A lot of platforms are also being created. In fact, we are responsible for floating North Central Commodity Association platform now, which we also hope to use to further, proliferate the boom in the business.
All right. The good news is that both the commodity market and the stock markets having positive results.
Certainly.
So, and then the commodity market is going to be listed, it's being planned to be listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. How do you see that development?
No, definitely we are moving with the times. You know, that is part of the, you know, basic infrastructure that have been lacking. You know, here that the trading is mostly done informally. You know, you go to markets, take physical, but with the proposed enhancement of the commodity trading platforms, you know, some of them have been there going on, like the one by Afex. I understand Sterling and others are trying to float another one. Of course, the Abuja Commodity Exchange has been there, but typically because it's a government establishment, it's not been up and doing. But I think efforts are also being made to rejuvenate it. And principally legislations too are required, like the warehousing receipt scheme, because that's part of what will give a boost to the farmers. Under the warehousing receipt scheme, I understand it was, passed by the last assembly, but it was vetoed by the president because of some hiccups. Now, once that one comes on board, even ordinary farmers could easily go and store their grains, take that receipt and borrow the little they want, and that wait the market to appreciate. Because part of what you have raised now about the present prices, because they all have to go and dump at the same time. So there's that bust and boom cycle. But once that bill is passed now, we expect that even the farmers will not be rushing because they have somewhere where their commodities will be clean, graded, and stored, awaiting the market. And then, of course, it will boost even the commodity exchange you are talking about. So we are hopeful that stakeholders, including the ministry, will speed up the passage of that bill.
Okay, so it means the farmers are prepared, I would say, for the commodity market.
No, certainly. But part of what is required for stakeholders to also sensitize the farmers. Because even at the moment, we have a challenge, advocacy, training, and sensitization of farmers to, bring them up to speed with the modern trends. It's a critical challenge that I think the authorities and all stakeholders are expected to undertake.
Is that to say that the awareness level at the grassroots is still low?
No, it is. That's part of the challenge. Extension services had broken down, over time because we have turned our back on agriculture, extension, and because that's part of what they do. They impart modern and, latest knowledge on the farmers. So they will also be required to also advance the cost of this commodity exchange by imparting this kind of knowledge, For instance, in some localities, if you go to buy grains and you take weighing machines there, they won't even subscribe to it. They would rather prefer their old. So part of what is required is actually education, advocacy, and to line up the farmers behind these modern trends.
Okay. Yeah. So we've established that production is on the increase.
Certainly.
Well, one thing is to increase production. Another thing is to have quality.
Yeah.
So what is happening in terms of quality and what needs to be done to add value to what the farmers are bringing to the market?
Good, thank you. And that brings us to my association that I'm representing the president here. It's called PRIDAN. It's Paddy Rice Dealers Association of Nigeria. Ordinarily, it should be GRIDAN, because we deal with all sort of grains. So there are facilities that the state federal government itself has established across the 36 states. We have about 5 model grading facilities from one of the best producers, Alban Blanche of UK. So they were set up as models by the federal government in different locations. Warehouses were built, and these equipments are given. They are meant to clean, grade, winnow, and then store. And then, of course, they will be the ones that will now be supplying the processors. And hopefully, when the commodity exchanges are established, they will also be linked there. So those are the kind of things that need to be popularized, and they are the means of enhancing this quality. And then they also enhance traceability, because by the time anything happens, even if it's export, you'll be able to trace back to particular facility, which will now trace back to the farm. Because part of what the system does is for you to have outgrower facilities, outgrower schemes. You have farmers under you, you provide them inputs, and then of course you now offtake, like I say, clean, grade, and store, and of course supply to processors and possibly the exchange market, and when it's time for exports. So that will enhance this kind of quality we are talking about, because by the time a lot of them are there, they will engage many outgrowers, and then the knowledge will be passed, and then of course the outgrowers will be tailored along the required qualities. That will enhance their economic well-being.
Yes, talking about this quality you're talking about, one would perhaps think that the value chain has to be sustained? How effective is the value chain from the farmers to the processors to the storage and right up to the export level? How effective is the value chain?
No, it's increasingly becoming effective. Like I said, we are just lucky this administration in the past 5 years has turned its attention. In fact, even prior one, under Additional, we have a consistent effort to focus on agriculture. So increasingly the value chains, which had earlier been broken, are being fixed. And like I said, that's part of what this facility is all about. So, and the opportunities are there for people to make money. That's the YFM station. Mostly it is what is in need for me. So if people see they can make money, and you truly can make a lot of money. It's a very huge prospects, for people to, including our youth in particular, to come in. The value chain is so long, from seed production, fertilizer, even the application, you have even the harvesting. So that entire value chain is providing a lot of opportunity that is attracting private capital and a lot of people interest. So increasingly, as we move along, once these policies are sustained, that you realize the government is really serious and now there are no policy flip-flops, definitely the value chain, the challenges we have along the value chain will be fixed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's go back to a little bit to talk about the inclusion of the commodities on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. Do you see that helping to increase financial inclusion, especially among farmers from rural areas?
Yeah, certainly. That's what I'm saying. Like I mentioned the warehousing receipt. That is the way they join the market, because with that receipt, like I said, farmers don't have to be in a rush to go and dump their goods. And then with this receipt, they can go to the nearest microfinance or even a conventional bank to borrow the little they need for now. So they will be conscious because they will be following the trend. It's only when the market appreciates that they can go and say, okay, sell my goods, I need my money, So that's part of how they will be linked to the chain. Of course, they will benefit from it because, like I said, since they don't have to go and rush, they also take advantage of the movements in the commodity exchange. Once it appreciates, they sell. If it doesn't, they keep, So it's a welcome development that will also enhance the well-being, economic well-being of these farmers. They will actually make more money than they are doing now. This glut you refer to is because there is no such facility. So everybody will rush to the market. Because if I don't sell, I can't take care of my family or my needs.
That's true.
But once you have that kind of facility, all I need is that receipt to the nearest bank, because it serves as a collateral for him. That's part of the challenge of credit extension, collateral. So if this receipt is now legally recognized, the banks will not be reluctant to take it as a collateral because they know it's realizable. And then with of course, the exchange, they themselves have little or nothing to fear again. So that is part of what you are saying.
Okay, on a final note, let's have your projections for 2020 for this year. What do you see happening on the commodity market? And then what products or what produce should Nigerians be looking at?
No, well, because of this policy of food self-sufficiency, starting with rice and all other sorts of grains that, various localities have competitive advantage over, because virtually everything can be produced in this country. So the prospects are huge, like I said. And with this border closure, even by the time it's open, at least our neighbors that have been sabotaging us all these years will have been put on the proper footing, so that the international conventions, the OCOA protocols is what they have been breaching by converting Nigeria to a dumping ground, using their countries as conduits. So even by the time the border is opened, we expect that there will be that dumping again, because they will have been alive to their responsibility under the existing protocols. So the prospects are very, very, very bright.
So what commodities are we to look at? What commodities do we see flooding the markets and then taking in high profits?
No, well, mostly, of course, for now the king is rice, but maize too, because a lot of processing facilities are coming up. And then we have soya too. And then the export commodities are also, by the time the border is open now, there has been a little depression on export commodities like Benny seed or ginger or garlic. When the border is open and systems are streamlined, we also expect some boom in those respects. Virtually most of those produce are good to go.
Thank you very much. It's been a pleasure speaking with you today on Business Express. Aggregation expert Mohammed Ali Baba.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for coming on the program today.
I'm
Moving on. Gold prices edged lower on Friday, having declined as much as 1% in the previous session, as de-escalation in U.S.-Iran tensions brought relief to markets and boosted investors' appetite for riskier assets. Nigeria's stock market is on its path to making history again in 2020. The market is now world's best performer after a 7-day rally put equities on a jet speed again. Year to date, all-share index has returned about 6.41%. The all-share index on Thursday firmed up by 2.9%, and at the close of trade Friday, the all-share index sustained gains to 29,415.39 points, and market capitalization also rose to 15.174 trillion naira. 280 million equities swapped hands in 5,189 deals valued at 4,815 billion naira. The financial services sector dominated activities led by Access Bank, Zenith Bank, and UBA. And outside the country, major Asian markets were mostly in positive territory on Friday, following the easing of U.S.-Iran tensions and after U.S. stocks shot to new highs overnight. Bosede Abel takes it from here.
Global market sentiment has improved in the latter half of the week amid a de-escalation in U.S.-Iran tensions. Stocks worldwide have been boosted by the easing tension as well as optimism over U.S.-China trade relations. European stocks traded cautiously higher on Friday, the 10th of January, as world markets rally on the back of easing tensions in the Middle East. Major Asian markets were mostly in positive territory following the easing of U.S.-Iran tensions and after U.S. stocks shot to new highs overnight. Nikkei rose 0.47% to close at 23,850.57. Hang Seng Index climbed 0.27% in its final hour of trade, while Shanghai Composite was negative. U.S. stocks index futures were set to open at record levels as world markets rally on the back of easing tensions in the Middle East. Dow futures indicated a positive open of more than 211 points. Futures on the S&P 500 and Nasdaq were also higher. Most African stocks traded higher. South Africa's JSE Africa Top 40 advanced by 0.42%. Nairobi's all-share 2.16%. Namibia's overall index 0.05%, and Ghana's GSE Composite 0.04%. While on the red was Tunisia's Tunidex by 0.07%.
And away from the markets, Latest data obtained from the Ministry of Power indicates that the total quantum of electricity generated on the national grid since the beginning of 2020 reached a peak of 4,898.2 megawatts. Findings from the Federal Ministry of Power shows that the grid had opened the year 2020 with a peak power generation of 4,678, while the lowest quantum of energy generated on the same day was put at 3,399 megawatts. Further analysis of the 8-day power generation report since 2020 began shows that the latest quantum of electricity generated during the period was 2,461.1 megawatts. And that's where we wrap up this edition of Business Express. Don't forget you can access all previous episodes on YouTube, and you can communicate with us on Twitter. The handle is @NTA News Now. The hashtag is BizX. We value your feedback, so keep the mails coming and join us again on Monday next week for another package. I am Muplang Dakok.